Okay, so today we'll explore modules. So that's just a powerful feature that's introduced in JavaScript ES6 that allows you to organize your code into reusable pieces. So modules helps you in maintaining a clean and a maintainable code base, especially for large projects. Now, modules in JavaScript are files that can export and import code, such as variables, functions, classes, or objects from other modules. So this modular approach, it just enables you to break down your code into smaller and more manageable chunks that can be reused across your application. Some of the benefits for using modules, it's encapsulation. That means that you keep related code together and separate it from other parts of the application. And then reusability as well, so you can easily reuse a code in different parts of your applications or across multiple objects. And then maintainability, you simplify the code management by organizing functionality into distinct modules. And then you can avoid global namespace pollution as well by keeping variables and functions scoped to a module. Now, modules use export keyword to make code available to other modules, and the import keyword just to bring in the code from other modules as well. So when you're exporting, that means that you can export the values into two ways: the named export and then the default exports. So when it comes to the named exports, it allows exporting multiple values from a module, and then each value must be imported with the same name. And then the default exports allows exporting a single value from a module, and then the value can be imported with any name. Now, you can import values using import keywords as well. So you can actually use curly braces to import specific modules by name. So on default imports, there is no curly braces that is needed. So you can use any name for the imported value. All right, now let's go ahead and see how we can actually use. So first, let's actually create a structure. So I'm gonna go ahead and just close some of the things here, and let's just minimize. So first, I'm gonna just add a new folder called ES6 ES. 6 modules, and then in this folder we're gonna have another folder called src, and then in src we're gonna have another folder called math, and then in math we're gonna add a new file called add.js, and then you can actually look at my file path there. So I've got a folder called ES modules, and then src, and then math. I've got a file called add. So I'm going to create another file called subtract.js. Again, the two files are within the math folder. src, we're going to have main.js. So I'm going to go back to src and then add a new file called main.js. So this way I'm actually teaching you how you can actually structure your project as well if you're creating a certain project. And then on ES modules folder, we're gonna have a new file called index.html. Alright, so we're gonna start with our index.html, and then on the index we want to include the main. So check where the main is. So the main is actually within the src. So we will just go script, and then there's gonna be a /src and then main.js. All right, so we actually including our main.js. All right, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to add.js. Now this module will actually export a function that adds two numbers. Okay, so it will just export a function that will add two numbers. So we can say export const add. So that's all that we want to do. So this will export a function that will add two numbers for us. And then we can do the same thing on subtract, but this time we can actually call it subtract. So subtract will export a function that will subtract two numbers. So we can just say subtract here. That's all that we actually need to do in these two files, right? And then the next thing, now in the main JavaScript file, that we can use the main JavaScript file that will import the add and the subtract functions from their respective modules and then use them. Now, on the main JavaScript file, what we can do, we can import. So using the curly braces, we can import add from math add. Okay. Then we can do the same thing with subtract. We can import. All right. Now we can actually use them by saying const a result. I'm just going to create a variable called result add, and then that will actually add. Let's say we want to add 10 and 5, and then we can do the same thing with result subtract. So we can say const result, let's say 10 and 5 as well. Remember, we can pass any values there. Then let's actually console dot log the result. All right, so what we're gonna do here, actually we need to access the variable, so we can just say result add, and we can do the same thing with console.log. So 10 minus 5 is, then we can actually access these subtract. I'm sorry, it's result subtract, isn't it? That is the name of our variable. Now, if we go back to our main HTML file, we can actually look at the results and then just to see how everything works together. So it's all about separating your functions into smaller chunks. Okay, so I've got a syntax error here. Have a look here. If we say math and then this add.js. Oh, I see what's the problem. We didn't put the extension there. Okay, so that's the reason why it's actually not found. So you must actually make sure that you put the extension. Now, if we go and preview it, then we can actually see the results, both on the console and also on the HTML document. The add.js module, which is this one, this module exports a function named add. Okay, so we've got a function named add that takes two arguments and returns their sum. Okay, and then the subtract module, it exports a function called subtract that takes two arguments and returns the result of subtracting the second argument from the first. Okay, and then we've got the main.js or main JavaScript file, main.js. So this is the entry point of our application. It imports the add. So we start by importing the add module, okay, and the subtract module. So we import the add and subtract functions from their respective module and then calls them with the numbers 10 and 5, okay, and logs the results to the console. And then additionally, we update the content of the HTML elements with the IDs result add and result subtract, just to display the result to on the web page. And then our index HTML, this is an HTML file. We look at it, this is just an HTML file that includes a basic structure with a title. Okay, we didn't really put any title, so we just have two paragraphs there to display the result of the calculation. Now, in conclusion, Using ES6 modules, you can organize your JavaScript code into reusable pieces, improving maintainability and readability as well. So if you can just follow this step-by-step example, you should have a better understanding of how to create and use modules in a real project. So you practice creating your own modules and importing them into your projects to become more comfortable with this powerful feature of JavaScript.